Whoa! Yeah! Is it good for absolutely nothing? Whoa! Is it good for absolutely nothing? Yeah! Oh God! Is it good for absolutely? Listen to me. Oh man, that's getting me fired up. Hey, this is Operation End Times. I'm your Jedi warrior for Jesus, Bent Hellistead. This is the continuation of the Vikings. I do believe we're at part 7, but we're going to call this The Art of War. And what is it good for? Absolutely nothing, my friends. Whew, I tell you what, man, this has been a journey and a half. If you're watching me and if you're following this, hey, God bless you, man. May your eyes be open. There is so much more that is to be revealed. How much gets revealed in this video, I don't know, but there will surely be many videos in this series still coming on the Vikings. Oh, man. You know, the art of war. Why is it called the art of war? I will tell you why, my friends. Because, you know, even though, you know, there's a sad truth that part of man's evil nature is to hate and to kill another man. The way you get a man to kill a man is you got to paint a picture, my friends. And there is several ways, several pictures that can be painted. And these pictures are distortions that produce hate. So, basically it is by dividing up, rather than having one picture of what mankind should be, you start painting separate pictures. And so you have one picture which is religion, and you have another picture which is race, and you have another picture which is called nationalism or countries. But what you do is you paint a picture for the masses, man, and you tell them this is why it's okay to kill a man. And you know, one of the commandments, the 10 Commandments, you know, the Lord that gave us those 10 Commandments was, thou shalt not kill. And yet, mankind finds a reason to kill a man. You know, like, I'm killing a man because God's on my side, not on your side. You know, religion, my God versus your God. You know, man will kill another man because it's like, hey, my country, I'm fighting for my country, you know, the United States against whoever, Nazi Germany against the rest of the world, Russia against Ukraine. And of course, a reason a man would kill another man is, hey, you're different than me, man. You know, I'm blonde-haired and blue-eyed, you're dark-skinned and brown-eyed, or you're yellow-skinned and dark-haired, or you're red-skinned and dark-haired, or whatever it is, you're just not like me, so you're the enemy, you're they. What you'll find out is they is not them, they is somebody else. You know, they is this, the 4-4, the 8-8, you know, they're the ones pushing the buttons, you know, they know how to control you. You know, because they're a bunch of trolls. Alright, we're going to dive into the deep pool. You know, we've been looking at the blondness, the red hairness, the Vikings. You know, we got the blondness as it's spread out from the Middle East on up northward towards the Baltic Sea. You know, Crimea is up there. There's all these stories right now because there's a bunch of pyramids in Crimea. And this is a heads up. Probably the next video in the Vikings is Pyramids of Power. And I'm going to show you some stuff that's going to just absolutely blow your mind. But supposedly there's 37 pyramids in Crimea. But what you'll find out is just like the progression of the blondness and of the redness, the leaven to the baker's dough, you know, you can also see a progression and a spread of pyramids across the globe, you know, from South America on up in through the Ukraine and Europe, and of course the Great Pyramids in Egypt, but there's pyramids out there in China and Indonesia. And, you know, there's great mystery in what the pyramids, what they're all about, but we're going to get to what that's all about. But along with it is the serpent worship. You know, a lot of places you find these pyramids, you know, like over in Mexico with the Aztecs, they were worshiping the serpents, supposedly, you know, offering blood sacrifices. The Vikings with their dragon boats, they were serpent worshippers. You know, but you'll see serpents all over the place, especially in the places where you find these pyramids. And most of the time, you know, from like a, quote, Christian perspective, the serpent is this dark, evil thing. What I will tell you is a serpent, an actual snake, is neither good nor bad. But if you're talking about a serpent representing spirits, then they can be both good and bad. And yet a snake or a dragon represents both. A dragon is like a mighty flagon, and a serpent is, you know, probably just like a regular spirit. But a spirit, either good or evil, could be represented by a snake. And people who are in the spirit, feel the spirit, see the spirit, they could either be seeing good or evil. They could have one eye darkened and one eye lightened. Now, what I would tell you, it's all a matter of perspective. I'm going to try and sum up some stuff and then roll on. But, like we saw in the last video, you know, the Vikings attacked this holy abbey on the island of Lindisfarne. And there's actually a movie I watched. You can find the movie Lindisfarne, where they'll show you, and there's this magical book of the four Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John that were covered by a medal made by some hermit named Belthif, or I don't even know if I wrote his name down, but the hermit of Belith, but his name somehow ties into, to me, Balder the Brave, you know, a friend and a half-brother of Thor and Odin, so there's a connection there, but we're not going to get deep into that. But at Lindisfarne, where the Vikings did this attack and massacre, and it then tarnished, made them be cast as the evildoers for the next 1,200 years. You know, at the same time, you know, it was the church that was projecting the Vikings as evil. But what was going on at the same time, right, was Charlemagne the Great rose to power, right, at around 780, you know, so this was basically 11 years before the attack in 793 of the Vikings. So, you know, Charlemagne did this horrible thing, which was like a 9/11 event, and 11 years later, the Vikings returned the favor with the attack on the abbey on the holy island of Lindisfarne. But Charlemagne, he reigned for 13 years. He was coronated the great emperor. He was the first great emperor after 300 years. That magic number, 300. 300 is a projection of a spiritual force of might. The army of Gideon, the 300 Spartans, you know, the ark being 300, lifting all them people up off the face of the earth. But 300 years after the fall of the Roman Empire, the first emperor was crowned, and he was the lord of the Franks, the French. He ruled for 13 years, but this was 11 years after or before the Vikings did the massacre at the Abbey. But what Charlemagne did is he was fighting the Saxons, and it's known as the massacre of Verden. But it was where, and Charlemagne was crowned by Pope Leo III. So the Catholic Church was neck deep in what Charlemagne was doing. But what it was, he was battling the Saxons, and what happened was 11 years prior is 4,500. That's more people than what died at 9/11. 4,500 Saxons surrendered to Charlemagne. And then what Charlemagne did is he massacred all of them. And they said his main motivation for what he did was, as a Christian out of the Bible, he thought he was being like King David and killing all the Moabites or the Amalekites or whatever, you know. But what he did resonated. It became a dark, festering manifestation, especially in the Germanic area of the blondness. And the 1200 years, the rest of the world, the church was painting Vikings as blonde-haired, blue-eyed people as evil. The blonde-haired, blue-eyed people were resonating the opposite way because they were remembering the massacre at Verden. And in 1935, a monument was made by this German dude called the Saxon Grove. And that was right as Nazi Germany started to manifest, and Hitler, who wanted to build the super race out of blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. And I will tell you right there, the dots are connected. Time is moving forward. The linear progression, now we can stack it all up and see, you know, that there's a common thread of genetics, hair color, eye color, and payback, and distortions that are moving the carnal 3D manifestations here on earth forward. And I'll tell you what's manifesting is war, my friend, and doom, you know, because that's what war brings, death. And that is the final manifestation of the male ego, the Adamic, you know, mankind, time and time again in these cycles of destructions, heavenly waters above and below, doom and destruction, you know, walking away from God. It only manifests one way, man rising up in his own prideful mind and ego, trying to build his own world. It only manifests one way, in doom and destruction and failure, because you cannot build that world unless you're walking with God. He laid the foundations, and that's what's coming back, my friends, is understanding the foundations. Yeah. So, let's see if we can kind of wrap this one up, you know, dividing men up by race, religion, country, only gives reasons for war. And here we are with Russia, you know, annexing Crimea River, you know, the home of these pyramids, right in the neighborhood of the blondness. We got this connection of the Vikings attacking the Abbey and Charlemagne massacring the Vikings, which manifested in the Nazis. We've got the strange lineage of the patriarchal, you know, that's where the blondness came down, the fallen sons of God. We've got, especially with Noah, and you know, they would have you believe there was only 8 people on that boat, where there was a ton of people. Just the 8 were the special, the king and queen bees, you know. And you know what's going on here? It's like bloodlines, but it's like family trees. So it's the 2 into 1 formula and the 3 into 1. So Adam kind of gave us the 2 into 1. Is when Eve was created, he said, "Flesh of my flesh, bone of my bones, 2 shall become 1. A reason to walk away from your mother and your father." It's the 2 pillars, the 11. You know, it's the king and the queen bee, and everybody else is a worker bee. But it's also a lie. It's the yin and the yang. It's the moon with the dark side of the moon, the hidden knowledge on the dark side of the moon. 11 times 2 is 22, but it's a fake 22. And you know, within that line of thinking it's like the chosen, you know, or you know, the 144,000 or Israel. But then there's also the 3 in 1, which is the thirds, which is like the triune, the Father, Son, and the Spirit. You know, what I'm going to tell you, my friends, you know, whether it's the 2 in 1 or the 3 in 1, we're not going to get to the end of it in this video, but both sides kind of reflect each other. Both sides have distortions, and the dark side has tried to hijack, replicate both sides, the 2 into the 1 and the 3 into 1. And I'm going to explain that a lot deeper, but we have just so much more to dig into. I didn't even get to the tip of it, but I was going to show 1 Chronicles 4. They go into these genealogies and lineages 1 Chronicles 4:33, the Baal genealogies in 1 Chronicles 4:40, where it talks about Ham of the ancient ones. And that's what it's all about. From the rivers flowing out of Eden, the 4 rivers dividing up the way God meant it to be, the distortions, and then Noah coming off that ark and the dividing up of the lands in the days of Peleg. All that dividing up between the kings and the princes. And once again, it reflects into Revelations when the 144,000 and the tribes they're allocated to. I'm going to tie it up in a neat little bow, man, and you're going to be just blown away. Because, of course, I think the tribe of Dan is not in the 144,000. All right, this is Operation End Times, the art of war, my friends. I'm your Jedi warrior for Jesus. God bless you all for watching this. Amen.